What's up, everyone? So I typically don't make videos like this. However, I've been seeing the advertisement and the backlash for Hbomax's Velma, and I get it. I understand why it's getting backlash because this advertisement is not very good. It is probably how to speed run a terrible ad for a show, and I want to talk about that. So if you don't know what Velma is about, it is a adult animated comedy that's going to be on HBO Max about Velma Dinkley from the Scooby-Doo franchise. It is going to be about her solving a murder mystery before she joins Mystery Incorporated. That's fine. However you feel about that premise of the show is up to you, but I'm okay with that premise, and I'm going to check out the show when it comes out, and I will let you know in a review format if it ends up being good. But in regards to this trailer that they released, this trailer is a targeted attack against everyone that had criticism with the show, which is not how you advertise your property, not in the slightest bit. So, for context, before I delve more into the trailer, when Velma was originally announced, it was revealed that it was going to be an adult animated comedy and that Velma Dinkley was going to be Indian. Okay, that's negligible. Whether you're on the side of people that feels it doesn't matter when you change the race of a character, or you're on the side that's like, I would prefer an original character with this race for me to connect to rather than just changing the race of a character that I was already connected to, because it doesn't make you feel any more or less towards the character. You're just like, why did you do this in the first place if it's not going to affect my emotions of the character? I don't really understand how this makes me feel anything about it. It doesn't add anything to the show, and if it's not adding anything to the source material, then it's like, why do it in the first place, right? I completely understand both viewpoints, and at the end of the day, both of you just want for diversity to be in Hollywood, which is great. The end point is positive on both aspects. Obviously, there are toxic fans in those groups that's like, I can't believe you made my precious white character, XYZ, and it's just like, obviously those people are in the wrong. But the topic at hand is a very sensitive one that does not have a clear and cut answer to it. So making fun of it is a very sensitive thing, and that happens in this trailer. So because people were upset about the changes that they made to the Scooby-Doo franchise, because they made Velma Indian, they decided to make a trailer making fun of those people. The trailer starts off with Velma writing a death threat to HBO Max, complaining that they are making a prequel series about Judy Jetson. Wow, how she's making a prequel series about Scooby-Doo that focuses on Velma, much like how that focuses on Judy Jetson, and that Judy is being completely out of character and that it's being unfaithful to the source material, and they're changing a bunch of things and she doesn't like it, much like how Velma is doing. And then, she makes a remark saying that at least Judy is still white, like a snide comment, like, haha, see, I changed the race of Velma in the show and you guys had a problem with it. And there's even a point towards the end of the trailer where, like, a serial killer breaks into Velma's house and calls her, much like, homage to Scream. And, he's like, I'm in the house. And when she hears that, she goes, yes, that's a classic line from a classic story that doesn't need to have things changed in like a future series that's tagging on to the IP, because the classic still holds up. You don't need to make more things. And she like stares into the camera for a second before realizing that the killer's in her house, and then she gets killed and the title card goes for the show. And it's just like, it wasn't funny. Like, I get it. It was supposed to be a meta joke making fun of the fans that are hating on the show, but the problem is like what I mentioned a moment ago. The subject at hand is not something that is very clear cut. When people make fun of racists, it's a very clear cut definition. Racists are bad. You can make fun of racists and everyone will have fun with that because everyone knows that racists are in the wrong. This, though, both sides of that argument want the same positive outcome. They just have different viewpoints on it. So saying that one side is bad for having criticisms of what you've done is a problem. And then on the other hand, having an issue with the fact that things in the show are being changed, you can have that criticism. But it's not okay to tell you that you're wrong for having that criticism. Because recently, we've gotten more story details about Velma that I'll mention to go along with what I just said is that, we got some character details for Fred. There were some character details for Daphne. I haven't read about it yet, but we got some character details for Fred. And he doesn't sound like Fred. They were like, oh, he's more or less a generic, stereotypical jock white character with daddy issues. That is more or less what they said about it. And then they added in something that this is indicative of the show. Fred hasn't hit puberty, so it's like a dark secret that he's hiding from everyone because he doesn't want anyone to know that he hasn't hit puberty yet. And it's causing complications with him and Daphne because I'm sorry. It's just I'm remembering what was an article, and it's just like why is this a thing? So it was saying that Daphne is becoming increasingly frustrated, essentially, with the fact that Fred won't have sex with her because he can't. Obviously, he hasn't hit puberty yet, but it's just like why? Like so this doesn't sound like the character of Fred, right? So for fans of Scooby-Doo, they're upset about that, but you're saying in this trailer that you're wrong for being upset that changes are made. Changes aren't inherently bad, but changes can be bad, and you're allowed to criticize that. Just because you change something doesn't automatically make it good. So having this teaser saying that, like, oh, hey, you shouldn't have a problem that I changed things about something that you have passion and care for is completely incorrect. And I just don't agree with it. This trailer was not funny, and it is like a targeted attack against people that have criticized the show in the past. Granted, the aspect of the death threat thing, that's perfectly fine. You can make fun of that. It's hilarious. But the reason why it doesn't work in this trailer is because instead of it just being a generic death threat to Hbomax, it is a meta joke about fans that don't like Velma. And that is the problem, is that you are actively attacking the fans that are criticizing your show without showing anything to justify that it's going to be good. Obviously, when She-Hulk first dropped their trailers, regardless of how you feel about that, when She-Hulk dropped their trailers and people didn't like it, they didn't come back and release a trailer saying that those people are wrong for their criticisms. No, they just released the show and people liked it or disliked it. That was the end of it. We've reached a point where it should be clear and obvious that making fun of the fans that you want to watch your show aren't good. It happened with Charlie's Angels. When that didn't do well, there were people saying that, oh, people didn't see it because they're misogynists and they didn't want to see a female-driven action movie. That's wrong. There are tons of female-driven action movies that do significantly well. It's just yours didn't hit the marker that people cared to go and see it. And it's currently happening now with the new movie Bros. One of the men that worked on Bros is saying that people didn't go see the movie because they're anti-LGBTQ or they're homophobic, and it's like, no, people just didn't see it because they weren't interested or they were seeing other things in theaters. So, we've seen time and time again, and we're still seeing now, that telling fans that they're wrong for criticizing or not going to see your property is incorrect, and that is what Velma did here for a minute and a half. And it doesn't work. And then it doesn't help with the things that I've been reading that Mindy Kaling and the people that work on the show have been saying about the show. Because it just sounds like somebody that doesn't like the characters of Scooby-Doo, that are making a show that they wanted to make, but they couldn't get it off the ground, so they used the IP of Scooby-Doo to overlay onto their show so that they could make it. And that doesn't work. Because one of the articles that I read, which if I'm able to find all of the articles, I will put them in the description for you to read. One of the articles I read was talking about the fact that Scooby-Doo won't be in the show, which, that would be like if I made a show about Nightwing and couldn't put Batman in it. Like, why would I do that? Why would I omit the existence of the character that made this character exist? But whatever. So one of the articles I read talking about the fact that Scooby wouldn't be in the show is that Scooby couldn't be put into the show because one thing was an Hbomax executive was like, this is going to be an adult animated comedy. I don't think a talking dog really works because it seems a bit too childish. And it's like, okay, you know what? If an Hbomax executive said that, then that's fine. shit happens, so it's fine if you take that out. But then it went on to say that the development team agreed with this decision because they couldn't figure out how to put Scoob into the show. And that is like a clear problem in and of itself. It's like you couldn't figure out how to put the character that you're making a story in that universe about. Again, back to my hypothetical, if I made a show about Nightwing and I went to tell his origin, but I couldn't explain that he was the sidekick to Batman before becoming Nightwing, so I just omitted Batman from the show, it's not the same franchise anymore. So the fact that Scooby-Doo was the mainstay, it's his franchise, and you couldn't figure out how to put him into the universe that he created, maybe you need to rewrite your script. That's not good. And then there were other articles talking about, the decision to change the races of the characters and what she wanted to do. And I saw some of them saying, I'm like jumbling different quotes together, to talk about this, but one of them was she said she was inspired by Spider-Verse, and that's what made her decide to change the races of some of the characters. And I don't exactly see that. She said it's she was inspired by Spider-Verse. She's like, his animation, we can do what we want, but Spider-Verse didn't do this, and it's not like it's a successful example of what they're doing with the show. So I don't exactly understand how you were inspired by it to lead to this, but whatever. And then she talked about how she herself, Mindy Kaling, connected a lot with Velma growing up as a child, and it's just so if you connected with Velma as a child, then why exactly did you change these things about the IP if you yourself were able to connect with the character when they weren't this? Another thing that I saw was that people were able to accept that Scooby-Doo is a talking dog, so they can accept that Velma's Indian, and those two things are not comparable with each other. Scooby-Doo being an original character that's a talking dog in this original cartoon universe, yeah, people can buy into that. But changing the race of an already existing character, it's not the same level of equivalent. It's not you couldn't put Scooby in the show, so you gave Velma a talking cat for her to exposit things to from time to time, right? This is a hypothetical. So those two things are comparable. It's okay, you couldn't have Scooby, so you made this other character that could do it. And it's that is fine. Those two things are comparable to each other. But saying that this original character in its original cartoon universe, people were able to accept its existence so they can accept the fact that Velma's now Indian. Those two things don't make sense. They don't mesh together, but it is what it is. And then, people aren't taking fondly to this. And I get it. This advertising isn't good because the stuff that you're seeing from the articles doesn't sound like they care about what they're making. They're saying they care, but then it's you see what they're doing and it's giving mixed signals. This trailer, instead of, sucking up the punches that they got, they decided to lash back out like a child that whispers a curse word under their breath after they get in trouble. This advertisement is not making anyone want to watch the show on a grandiose scale. And I'm sure there are people that are going to watch the show. Obviously, there's going to be reviewers like me that are going to watch the show that are curious about it. I'm saying all of these things about it that are very negative, but it's literally just the advertisement. The show itself isn't out yet. I haven't seen the official trailer. I saw this teaser trailer, obviously, but I mean an official trailer that shows me the plot and the characters and the way they interact with each other and how the comedy works. I have not seen that yet. All I've seen is a trailer that is more or less Mindy Kaling telling the people that criticized her show that they shouldn't criticize the show. And then a bunch of, articles talking about how, characters are going to be different than what you expected and how they couldn't figure out how to put the main character of the universe into its spin-off series and how none of this is doing anything to really pull you into the show. It just makes you feel disillusioned about the final product that's going to come out, and it makes you concerned about it, So at the end of the day, I'm going to check out Velma when it comes out. I hope it's good. I hope that this advertisement doesn't tank the show. I hope it does well, because I don't want this to do bad. I like Scooby-Doo, like my only like true criticism right now is like I wish Velma had freckles, because like I always thought Velma was cute with the freckles, but now she doesn't have freckles, and it's like, oh, that's a disappointment. Like that, and Scooby should be in the show. You know, how do I feel about the whole Fred thing? Like, is it a little weird, and does it sound out of character? Yes, but it's just like, So at the end of the day, when the show does come out, I'll watch it. I hope I like it. If I don't, well, I'll be back here to tell you that I didn't like it. And this advertisement, it's not working very well. Definitely need to course correct on this advertisement. You know, stop attacking fans. You know, stop saying you drastically changed the source material as if, you know, people are just going to shrug that off. You know, just let the show speak for itself at this point. Honestly, like, just let the show speak for itself. And if people like it, they'll like it. If they don't, well, then you know you fucked up. So, and don't tell people that they didn't watch the show because of XYZ. That is never a good idea. It makes you look like a jackass. And I think that's really about it. So, you know, those are my thoughts on the advertisement of Velma and my personal feelings towards the show. And yeah, I'm the innocent villain. Remember, folks, you're innocent until proven villainous, and I'll catch you in the next one.